Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about what is NPS. So this is going to be the first in a series of videos talking about how to be a superhero. Now, this is going to be unlike any training that you have seen or that you have actually ever been to. My name is Danielle Branch, and sit back. This is going to be a wild ride. So yes, today we are talking about what is NPS, and this is Superhero 101. I do realize we got Batman up here. He's not technically a superhero, but that's another video for another time. So let's just jump right in, shall we? So by the end of this course, you're going to be able to explain what NPS is and how it's scored. You're going to be able to describe what empathy is. You're also going to be able to demonstrate appropriate empathy and de-escalation skills by the time we're done. So really, we're going to be talking about heroes and villains. Okay, so really heroes and villains, right? So hopefully I have your attention because I do want to talk about heroes and villains. So really, there's a lot of similarities between heroes and villains. First, they wear costumes, right? No capes. They both wear costumes. Sometimes there's tights involved, sometimes there's not. They also have powers or cool gadgets. Um, so this reminds me, and I'm gonna date myself, this reminds me back in the days of Darkwing Duck, right? So there is this villain that he had this light bulb for his hat or like his helmet thing, and he used electricity. And so Darkwing Duck, right? Darkwing Duck, let's get dangerous. So Darkwing Duck, he had like the Master Blaster. He had his cool little outfit. He had all sorts of cars, things. They have powers and gadgets. So they also have a backstory. So for your villains, and I love talking about villains first because they're the cool ones, right? So the villains, they're the ones that have the backstory that tells why are they so mad? Why are they pissed off? What is their vendetta against the world? And the hero, they also have a backstory explaining why they chose to be that hero and save the world. They also have a cool nickname. So there's a show, codename Kids Next Door, and I think it's actually been off the TV for a while. But there was a villain named Mr. Flush, and he actually had a toilet bowl for part of his costume. So they both have a nickname. So these are similarities. So which one are you? How can you tell the difference? Well, we're actually going to be talking about that next. But first, I want to introduce you to the Parr family. So they are a family of superheroes. And if you haven't seen The Incredibles, I'm not going to give away any of the storyline. Do not worry. But I do want to introduce you to them because they are a family of superheroes that have incredible abilities. So here we have Elastigirl, Mrs. Incredible, and she can actually stretch herself out almost like a Gumby thing. So she can just stretch all of her limbs. Then up here we have Mr. Incredible, and he has this super strength. Off to the right we have Violet, and she has a couple of abilities. She can create force fields, but she can also go invisible as well. Down here we have Dash, who has speed. So he runs really fast, and he can actually run so fast that he can run on water. And here in the middle, we have Jack Jack. Now, I'm not going to give it away to tell you whether or not Jack Jack has incredible abilities or not. Now, the Parr family, the Incredibles, they actually had to hide their powers and pose as just regular people because the townspeople felt that they were actually more of a menace than they were a help. And this is a lot like the Avengers in one of their movies, where because they were so destructive, the town people, they they actually felt that they were more of a menace as well. So, really, the view of the townspeople are going to determine if you are a hero or a villain. So, I'm going to ask again, which one are you? There's actually a way that we can find that out. So here we are with NPS. So this actually stands for Net Promoter Score. And in its very basic elements, NPS is tied down to one simple question. How likely are you to recommend us to friends or family members? Now, if you're in a service industry, then how likely are you to recommend our services? And then if you're in a product-based industry, how likely are you to recommend this product? But basically, Net Promoter Score is an industry standard. It's not just used by one company. So many companies out there use it. Dell, Hewlett Packard, Toys R Us, rest in peace, also used Net Promoter Score. And if you're watching this, then also your company as well. Now, you may be thinking, well, they're rating the company. They're not really rating me. So how is this something that I have any control over? Well, you don't have complete control over this Net Promoter Score, but you can help influence this. So, first, I want to make sure that you understand how NPS is actually scored. So, generally, you're going to have a range from 0 to 10. Now, from 0 to 6, these are called your detractors. These are the people that actually think that you are a villain. From 7 to 8, these are called passive, and they're not really sure what they think of you yet. And 9 and 10 are your promoters. These are the ones that think that you are a hero. Now, the way that you actually get to your NPS score is the percentage of your overall promoters, remember the ones that think you're a hero, minus the overall percentage of the detractors, the ones that you're a villain. And that actually equals your NPS score. So whenever I train this in person, I always stop and ask for questions. If this part right here confuses you, please go and leave a question down inside the comments for me. I will make sure that I answer all of them. So at this point, you're probably thinking, well, it looks like this is stacked against me. I mean, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that all count against me. The passives, the 7 and 8, they don't even count for anything. So all I have is a 9 and a 10. That doesn't really seem fair. Well, let's talk about why is it scored this way. So remember that scoring is going to be based upon that likeliness to recommend either the service or the product, basically the company. So I'm sure that you have either purchased something online or you've gone to a new restaurant or you've eaten at a restaurant. Maybe you've heard some word of mouth from friends and family members. But if you've purchased online or if you have eaten at a new restaurant, if you're like me, you probably were reading those reviews. And how many of those reviews were negative as opposed to positive? Might be a lot more, huh? If you are in a customer service industry, how many of your calls result more? Is it going to be more in a supervisor call or more in a kudos call? So the reason for that is because the negative is always going to be louder and more frequent than your positive calls. So they actually say that 12 positive encounters word of mouth is going to counteract just one negative. Just one. So that's why it's actually scored that way because the creators of this Net Promoter Score actually thought about that 12 positives. They wanted to put that into place as well. That's why you're going to see more negatives than there are positives. So hopefully that makes a little more sense. I do understand still that you can't have complete control over it. But let's actually talk about why your NPS score may be low. So some of that may be the fact that they have a missing or a wrong order. Maybe they were short shipped an item. Maybe it was a completely wrong item they received. Maybe they just haven't received it yet. They might also be unhappy with that IVR. So in some cases, it takes a long time to actually get to a human person. And depending on the generation that your company is actually serving, this can be a really big deal because they don't want to talk to an IVR. They want to talk to a human being. Sometimes the IVR may not recognize them. So when I was training agents, I would always say, I would pick on a few people and I would have them say, there's a fly on my eye. So depending on where you're from, that's going to sound different. So in the South, it may sound like there's a fly on my eye. I can't even say it, but you try. There's a fly on my eye. There's a fly on my eye. So depending on where that person is in the country, they may have a different accent and that IVR may not like it very much. You may also have previous experiences. So they may be upset with the person that they just got off the phone with, maybe the last person that took their order. Maybe they spoke to someone else and that person hung up on them. Maybe they were on hold forever. These are some of the reasons why the NPS score may be low. So all of this is just taking into account things you do not have major control over. Because let's face it, you didn't do those, right? That's why you could start off with a low NPS score. But can we fix it? Well, yes, we can. We may not be able to completely fix it totally, but we may be able to go in and help them rate you a little bit better. So we're going to do this in 4 steps. Know why the customers are upset. Use proper empathy statements. Take ownership and resolve to find a solution, and confirm resolution and then the satisfaction. We're going to break this down a little bit. So, what is empathy? So, that's really what this all boils down to, and the best way to go and increase your NPS score is empathy. So, the textbook definition of apathy, sympathy, and empathy. So, apathy is actually a lack of feeling, just generally not caring. Sympathy is the feeling sorry for someone. So, this is the hashtag sorry, not sorry. Empathy, on the other hand, is caring about and trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Try to understand what they're feeling. So, have you ever gotten something wrong from an order? Maybe it was missing or it took too long? Have you ever been on hold forever? Have you ever had difficulty with an IVR? Have you ever had bad experiences with customer service? I can answer yes to all of those. So you actually can understand how they're feeling. Let me go ahead and put this in a story because I know for me sometimes a story makes a little more sense. So I have this person and her name is Sarah. Sarah is stuck in the cold, wet rain. So apathy is me walking past her and saying, "Ew, you look like a wet rat." And I keep walking. That's apathy. Now, sympathy, we still have Sarah in the cold, wet rain. Sympathy is me walking to her and saying, "I'm sorry you're in the rain." And I keep walking. That still didn't help, did it? No, it really didn't. Now, empathy. We still have Sarah in the cold, wet rain, and I walk up to her and I say, I know what it's like being stuck in the rain. Here, why don't I walk you home? I open up my umbrella and I walk her home. Now, this is assuming, of course, I don't have a car, she doesn't have a car, but hopefully that makes sense what it actually sounds like, the difference between apathy, sympathy, and empathy. For years, we've actually thought that sympathy and empathy were the same thing. It's not. Just saying I'm sorry, that doesn't cut it. So there's actually something called empathy 1, 2, 3, and I want to try to make this very easy, which is why I have this color coded for you. So I call it empathy 1, 2, 3 because, as cliche as it sounds, it is easy as 1, 2, 3. So first we're going to recognize their feelings. As you can see down here, it says, I can understand why you're frustrated. Number 2, we're going to relate to that feeling. So I would be just as frustrated if, and then you're going to replay basically what they said. So if the automated service didn't understand me either. And then third, I'm going to use an ownership statement. I'm going to be more than happy to help you with your order today. Whatever it is that makes sense to put there for your ownership statement, I'll be more than happy to open up your account, help you with your order today, help you place your order today. Whatever that ownership statement makes sense to do, that's what you're going to put in. Now, I realize that this sounds kind of scripted, and it kind of is. I'm not going to lie to you, it kind of is. Now, one of the reasons why I use the word frustrated, I don't like to use the word mad. I don't like to use the word upset. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get them to say, darn right, I'm upset. Usually with a bad word in there somewhere, right? So if I use a word that's just a little bit more than what someone would normally say in their everyday language, then they're generally not going to get as upset. Now, frustrated can be interchanged with confused, any emotion, really. But I've noticed that in customer service, you're going to have confusion and frustration. So, again, putting all this together, I can understand why you're frustrated. I would be just as frustrated if the automated service didn't understand me either. I'll be more than happy to help you with your order today. That's what it sounds like together. It seems long since you could see it on your screen, but it's really not. So, have you ever heard the phrase, it's not what you say, it's how you say it? Well, that's exactly what our last slide is kind of guilty of. So those are the words, but how do you say it? So I want to do an exercise with you. I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. Yes, you too, close your eyes. Now I want you to picture your favorite ooey, gooey, sticky, yummy dessert. It's sitting on a table all by itself. And now it's falling in slow motion. No! It splats. Now open your eyes. If you actually did this exercise, and no, the 5-second rule doesn't count, if you're like me, you may have actually felt a little bit of sadness or dread. For me, I actually felt like almost a slight emptiness. You can actually channel this feeling in your emotion when you speak. So, when a good way to make this sound, if you have kids or nieces or nephews, whenever you read them a bedtime story, you're not going to read them a story like Jack and Jill went up the hill. right? We're not going to go and read like that. So we're probably going to soften our voice a little bit, especially for a bedtime story. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. So there's a big difference in how you're going to go and say that. So let's go back. Let's go over that one more time. I'm going to read that again, but this time I'm going to change how I say it. I can understand why you're frustrated. I know I would be just as frustrated if the automated service didn't understand me either. Now, I'm going to be more than happy to go ahead and help you with your order today. Do you hear the difference? Remember, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And channeling that feeling is how you're going to make it sound as sincere as you are. With that, let's go and talk about supervisor calls because remember I said we're still talking about de-escalation. So a supervisor call happens for a few reasons. So the first one is that you're stupid. Well, I don't really think that's the case because you're taking the time to watch this, you're trying to get better. You aren't going to get where you are if you actually are stupid. So we're just going to go ahead and cross that off. So the next one is that you don't know what you're doing. Well, chances are that's probably not true either. However, what it does mean is that you may not have been as confident sounding as what you could have been. This is a pretty big one. So I can tell you that the sky is green. I can tell you that the capital of Utah is Wichita. That probably didn't sound very convincing either, did it? The capital of Texas is Dallas. It definitely is Dallas. Well, it's not. It's actually Austin. But how you say it, I mean, I've sounded pretty confident thus far, right? Almost like I know what I'm talking about. Well, I do, but it's how you project yourself. You know how they say fake it till you make it? If you sound confident, then the customer or your member, they're going to believe in what you're saying. So I'm going to go ahead and cross this off because I think you actually do know what you're doing. The next reason is they want to get as much as they can. So maybe they want their order free, they want rush shipping free, they want everything free. Oh, and by the way, I want to credit my account too. Well, that actually doesn't happen as much as what you think. And that's coming from someone that takes supervisor calls. It's really not it's really not something that happens a lot at all. I'm going to cross this one off. I know you may not believe me, but talk to your supervisor or the people that take your supervisor calls. You're going to find it's really not the case. The next one is that they don't feel heard. And you know what? How many of you have gotten a call where they said, I don't think that she was really listening? Or the next one, they feel like you don't care. I just don't think she really cared. I don't think she really understood me. I don't think she was listening. You probably hear it a lot, probably more than what you really want to. So here's the beauty of empathy 123. So with empathy 123, the way that I showed it previously is you're going to basically replay back to them the reason why they're calling in and why they're upset. So that's going to show that yes, you did in fact hear them. And the fact that you're going to identify with the same feeling, and you would probably feel that same way too if it happened to you, it's going to feel as though you care. So that way, your member, your customer, they're going to feel as though, you know what, you actually did care. When you follow that up with the ownership statement and what you're going to do to help them, it's going to make them think, you know what, I think that they think this is their problem too, and they're going to really help me. So this is actually going to eliminate these reasons for a supervisor call as well. So that's really the basics of NPS and how to fix it, how to raise it. So here's my suggestion. So if you are a customer service agent, why don't you have your supervisor listen to some of your calls and find out, am I actually saying this? Is there places that maybe I shouldn't use empathy or places that maybe I should be using empathy and I'm just not? So in the next video, we're probably going to be talking about when should we use empathy and like when would be appropriate because you might be surprised. Empathy is going to be used in a lot of your calls. So with that, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them down below. If you liked this video, you could definitely subscribe. I will definitely have a lot more customer service, sales, call center type of questions. Tons of videos coming out based upon how to be a good call center agent. And if you are a team lead or an operations manager that's watching this, who knows? I might even have some videos out there for you to help you coach those agents. So until next time, this is your call center coach, and I hope you have a great